All right, new day, time for a new video. These videos of obviously, as you can read in the titles, been about C++, my journey in C++, trying to learn C++. Um, if you're new, you haven't seen any of my other previous videos, I got plenty of videos out there and stuff to get anybody started with writing code. Um, a very little bit on HTML and CSS, which is web design, and how you can get started on that. But for me, I switched from HTML and CSS to C++ because I wanted to write programs. I wanted to understand the programs I'm using better. I figured the best way to do that is to understand what's going on behind the scenes, I guess you could say. Yesterday we covered a couple new keywords, new and delete. Let me show you by adjusting my screen here. There we go. Uh, these these new keywords here, I put in the descriptions to use caution. If you're not familiar with C++, the code and writing it and everything, obviously, um, using the new and the delete keywords, you should probably do a bit of research before you start using them. Make sure you understand them fully because it may or may not cause problems. Since I don't fully understand them, I can't say they will or can't say they won't. I just know that from my understanding so far, that the new keyword actually reserves a spot in your RAM on your PC or computer or whatever you're using to write code. Um, Reserve spot in the RAM for data. But if you don't delete that spot or that reservation, then that reserve spot stays. Um, you can do it of one of two ways. You can use a delete keyword, or the other way would be to reset your PC so it clears out the RAM. But if you're writing a program for something else and you're using a new keyword, then you're not just potentially creating a problem for your own PC if you run the program, but anybody else that runs the program, you're creating a potential problem for them. Um, Anyways, again, caution on that. Definitely do your research, your homework to understand those keywords really well before you start using them a lot. I do know that they get used a lot and stuff when you have much larger programs and stuff. This is to help the program run a little bit smoother, faster, um, make things look nicer. It's one of the unique features of C++ is that ability. I don't know if any of the other languages have that or not, but let's get started with where we left off yesterday. C++ functions. This one I think is actually kind of nice. It really kind of helps things out a little bit. Especially when you write redundant code or repeated code and stuff, you can kind of reduce your code down by using functions this way. So let's get started on this. A function is a block of code which only runs when it is called. There's a new word we haven't used yet, called. It's not like picking up the phone or making a phone call or anything like that. Kind of similar it is, but not. When you pass data known as parameters into a function, functions are used to perform certain actions. They are important for reusing code, define the code once, and use it many times. Let me get my desk here adjusted. So let's start off with creating a function. In C++, provides some predefined functions such as main. Let me clear this old code out here, make this look a little cleaner. So this right here, main, is considered a function per the website I'm using right here, which is W3 Schools. I do recommend using it stuff if you are new. It'll kind of give you an idea of everything. It doesn't get into a lot of detail about it, but mostly it's discovery. Discovering it, seeing how it works. I got other resources and stuff I use. I've shared those in first few videos I made. So again, C++ provides predefined functions such as main, which is used to execute code, but you can also create your own function to perform certain actions. So in most of your C++ code, you need this main function right here to start anything. But then you can create other functions yourself to do other things to where it kind of jumps back and does some math and stuff and then brings it back down. It's one of those things where, okay, so I have this right here. I need you to figure out what this is. Okay, so I have it again, but it's different values. I need you to figure out what this is, sort of thing. And when it does that work, it brings it back to you. Here's what it is. Here's what it is. Kind of like having somebody read a book and then tell you about it, or perform math problems and give you the result without you actually having to do any work, kind of. To create, often referred to as declare. So if you create something, it's often referred to as declare, like all the statements you make when you type, integer, variable name, um, whatever, x, and then give it a value. We call those statements, but they're also declared. You're declaring a value or declaring a variable name x with a value, and its type is going to be integer. A function to create a function, specify the name of the function followed by parentheses. And then we got some syntax for it. So I will get my speech and my typing cleared up eventually, but in the meantime, just keep going with it. By the way, my videos, I do not go through and edit my videos, so when I make mistakes, you get to see them full out, which is fine because I think the mistakes are what helps us learn things. Maybe not for everybody, but I know it helps me learn. When I make a mistake, I see it, correct it. So this is a syntax for what we have here. Code block, code to be executed, which we've seen this before in loops and if statements, etc. Okay, so that's what it has if you can't see the screen on the right. That's the syntax for a function. Okay, let's see if it gets into it. It's going to explain the top. Let's see if it gets into explaining how all the details of a function. It probably won't, but it does have a huge section right here over on the right side of the list right here. Getting into functions. Example explains, so this is the example. So my function with the parentheses is the name of the function. Just kind of like a variable is a name for a type with a value. Void means that the function does not have a return value. So when you use void, um, in this particular case, this function actually won't return anything back to you. So you say, hey, read this book. You are simply telling the function to read the book. It's not going to tell you anything about the book. It's not going to return anything back to you. In fact, you may never see it again, sort of thing. Inside the function, the body is called the body. So this part right here would be called the body of the function. We've had something like that before, but in the other sense, it was, I believe, structures. And in the structures or enums, they were referred to as members. But it's also referred to as the body of the structure or the enum. Add code that defines what the function should do. Okay, so this next section, call a function. Declared functions are not executed immediately. They are saved for later use and will be executed later when they are called. Okay, so what that means is in order for a function to work, first the compiler has to see it, has to know that it's there. So with this being down here, the compiler doesn't see it until after it goes past the, if I didn't have it in comments to where the compiler doesn't see it, period. If this part was a function, then the compiler wouldn't see it until after the main. Therefore, if you call the function inside the main, it won't do anything because it's going to read code from top to bottom. It doesn't know it's there. So this would actually have to be moved up to or Yep, basically up to the top. So it sees it's there. It just doesn't know what it's for until it gets into the main and starts reading off the code in the main function. So we got an example here. Did I read all that? No, I did not read all that. So to call a function, write the function's name followed by two parentheses, or a set of parentheses, and a semicolon. In the following example, my function is used to print a text, the action when it is called. I'm just checking on my screens here. Let's see. So let's go ahead and get this example written in here and see what a function is or what it does anyways. Okay, so actually I got to go above that first. We'll start right here. So we got a comment, create a function. We're going to create a void, so it's not going to have a return to it. My function is going to be the name of it with parentheses. And again, I always like to put these curly brackets after it. I mean, you can put it wherever you want to. You can put it. I like to put them on the next line down, but yeah, if you want to start them after on the same line, I used to do that myself as well. I decided to start doing this way, but when you start getting your code really full and stuff, it's just whatever the preference is. If you're gonna, yeah, if you prefer to keep it there, then that's fine. If you prefer to do it here, if it's not a very long function and stuff, yeah, you can keep it on one line and stuff and just so forth, so on. But in this case, we are going to output standard cout quotes. I just got executed. Exclamation mark and and then that would be our function. So this right here is our function. It's a void function. That's the type, just like int is a type for main. The name of the function is my function, just like your main function right here. It says main. It has parentheses on it, just like the main function does. Okay, so these are both, we got two different functions here. That's what they're referred to as. Got the body of both of them, and this one right here is going to output this line of text right here. I just got executed. So now we need to create a way to call it. So in the main, right here, we are going to type in the name of the function, parentheses, and colon. That way it calls it. It does have a little comment right here, so call the function. And then down here at the very end, it's got, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this right here since we have it up there now. Got another comment. So this should output, I just got executed with an exclamation mark. So in this case, we can go ahead and save this and run this, and we should see this right here print up in the terminal. I can't have it highlighted. Let's try that again. Okay, there we go, down here below. I'll clear this out and rerun that one more time. Okay, so I just got executed, got printed out. If you were to open this window up and stuff and you were able to keep the window open, which I've mentioned many ways of doing that, it would print this to an open window, and this is the only part you would see. Now, if you run this code in an open window, it would actually print this up and close immediately because the program's done running. When the program is done running, the window no longer exists. Okay, so we got that example. Next part of it is a function can be called multiple times. Okay, so we got it called once right here. We can call it more times than that. So simply my function again, parentheses, and then my function again. Call it as many times as we want, basically. Oops. That's basically what it's saying. So in this case, instead of writing this multiple times, 3 times down here, we were just calling this function. It's going to print it out 3 times. This is really useful if you have several times you need to print something to the screen. and there could be many other examples of how you could end up running the same code and stuff and shortening your code in the main to do this. And there's a lot more things that can be involved in something like this. Go and save it and stuff. We should get that printed out 3 times to the terminal. And yes, we do. The only difference is in their example, they went ahead and added a new line right here. That way, each time it gets printed, it goes to a new line. Otherwise, it ends up staying all on the first line. So don't forget about the new line. Otherwise, you're going to end up getting all on the same line like I did the first time. Moving on. Function, declaration, and definition. A C++ function consists of 2 parts. Declaration, the return type, the name of the function, and parameter. So this would be a declaration right here. This would be also a declaration right here too. No, sorry, this is declared, but this is a declaration right here. The second part of that is definition, the body of the function, code to be executed. So this is actually also a definition of my function. Kind of confusing, isn't it? And that's just because we haven't gotten into really what an actual declaration is. I mean, it says the return type, the name of the function, and parameters, if any, but that doesn't give a whole lot of detail. I understand what it means because I've gone through this already once before. This is actually my second or third time going through this, trying to learn all this stuff. It's the next source of information and stuff that I need to go through several more times to fully understand what I'm doing, as well as other resources that would help me to understand code better and write more or better code. So, but yes, this is considered both a declaration and a definition. Declaration because we declared it, just like we have here. Definition because it has code to be executed, just like this does right here. So what's the difference between declaration and definition? We haven't gotten that far yet. It's got another little syntax right here explaining that this part right here is actually more specifically the declaration, but it's not written right for it to be a declaration, where this is the body of the function right here, the definition. I like the other sources that I have that explain that better, but we'll go with that for now. Note if a user-defined function, such as my function, is declared after the main function, an error will occur. So if you take this right here and literally move it, let me create some space for it real quick. Let me get rid of this. Get rid of this right here. We no longer need these comments in here. And this. And then I'm going to go ahead and keep that right there. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and step it down one. So if I take this right here and move it down to here, now it is after the main. If I try running the code like this, it will not work. Like I said, the compiler reads from top to bottom. So when you're calling a function, it doesn't know a function exists. Not until after it gets past all this. And once it gets down to here, it doesn't mean it's going to read this off. This right here is a call, not a main. This is a function to be called, not the main. The main is where all the work is being done. So in this case, yeah, we're just going to end up getting there. In fact, here, I'll show you. Not that hard. Run it. There's our area. It doesn't call anything because this right here has not been declared yet. There's no definition for it and nothing for it because it should be above it first, so I can read it first, and then down here. So the compiler has no idea what this is. It's literally like covering all this up with a piece of paper until after you've read this. And you're looking at this like, what is my function? What is my function? What is my function? And then once the compiler gets down here, it says, oh, that's my function. Well, it's too late now. I've done past it all. I can't call it. Kind of like those ideas and stuff. Did I just run a red light or run a stop sign or etc. because I wasn't paying attention or something like that? I don't know. Anyways, That's pretty much what this example right here is showing, that this right here is below it, so it's not going to call any of the functions because the compiler has no idea what it is since it reads from top to bottom. Once it gets down here, it doesn't mean it's going to go back up here and do it. No, it's not going to go backwards and say, oh, okay, now I get it. I'll go backwards. No. Once it's done, it's done. Once the mistake is made or the damage is done, it's already done. So let's go ahead and move this back up here where it belongs. And now it can read the function first. It know it exists. So when it comes down here, okay, yeah, I know what that is. I'll print this up, or I'll come up here and run this. Yep, I know what that is. Go up here, run this. Yep, come up here and run this. That's when it'll return back because this is where all the commands are being done. But if it's the other way around, since this is the main, it reads this first and has no idea what any of this is since it has not seen it yet. All right, let me go ahead and save that the way it is. Moving on. However, it is possible to separate the declaration and definition of the function for code optimization. You will often see C++ programs that have functions declaration above the main and the function definition below the main. This will make the code uh, better, organized, and easier to read. Okay, so here's what this means, and you may even see a lot of other people using this method and stuff for programming. So we got it called 3 times. We pretty much have the same thing marked up here. So I'm just going to leave this the way it is. The only difference I'm going to make is I'm going to go ahead and move this back down to here and show you how you can get this to call even though it's sitting down here. So even though it's sitting down here, we can get this to still work even though it's afterwards. The only thing we have to do is what's called declare it. This is what an actual declaration is. Yes, this is a declaration too, but this is what it means by a declaration as well. So we are void my function parentheses colon or semicolon. This right here means that when the compiler reads this, it's like, okay, yeah, okay. So there's a void function called my function somewhere in there. So when I get down to here, I start reading this. When it reads it and stuff, it says, okay, well, I've gone through all this. I understand it now, and this is where it's going to end up. The compiler can jump back and forth. When it reads this, it comes back up to here and knows to look for something. So it goes through and it'll look for it and find it and read this. How this makes your code simpler to read, I've just closed off that function right there so I no longer have to see it. We've got it in 2 different spots except for this is the declaration, this is the definition. When this is up here, it's both the declaration and the definition. So now when I start adding more code afterwards, for example, go ahead and put another line down here, close that off. Now I can start writing more code and put another function down here. If I need to edit my definition, I can simply open it up. And you notice how it goes from 14 to 18. It tells you how many lines it says it's taking right there. So I can have several functions down here and declare them all up here. And then once I get them all declared up here, I might even be able to change it and see. And the code's a lot easier to see that way. You got a declaration of a my function, a main right there. This is just for you. The compiler is still going to read this way. It's still going to have all this opened up. I mean, if you have 25 lines of something like that, and if they were all expanded out completely, it would be over 1,000 lines. When the compiler goes to read it, it's going to read all 1,000 lines, no matter if you have this collapsed or not. It's not going to care that it's collapsed. It's going to go through and read every detail. This just make it easier for you to do this. I believe most text editors will do this, not the built-in ones. So Notepad will not do this. I don't know about the other built-in ones. I'm pretty sure they probably won't either. This is an added function and stuff for this particular code editor. But now if I run this, yes, it will still print this off 3 times. In fact, I've saved it and there it is. The compiler knows it exists. It's just got to find it. So when it comes down here, reads this, okay, so now I need to go back up here and look for it and find it. It may end up, this is where you start separating compiler and runtime. The compiler will read it all first, and then during runtime, I think is when it starts executing the function. But we haven't gotten into the separation of both those. We're just right now going through this right here. So that's pretty much the end of this example right here and the end of the first section right here. I am going to actually I'm gonna go to the next part right here. I'm gonna make this video kind of short today, at least this first one, anyways, because there's a lot of information to cover with functions. So right now we've discovered functions, and as you can see, this next part it has 8 different parts to it, including the end real life examples. So we got parameters. I'm just going to show you. We got function parameters. We got default parameters. We got multiple parameters. We got return keyword, which is basically returning something. For void and stuff, we hand it off to somebody else. They do it. We may never see it again. With a function that can return, then you have to start using the return keyword, and then that's when the person will end up starting to come back. But that's completely different thing. So we also got functions by reference, pass array to a function, pass a structure to a function, and then the real life examples. I'm just kind of showing you right there all this stuff. In my next video, we'll get to this right here part 2. Because like I said, this is where functions get great, because you can close it up, make another function right there, close it up, and you can kind of make your code look cleaner to yourself. The compiler, like I said, is still going to expand it all out and read it all, get all the details. So if I said anything wrong, again, we got comments right there for that. If you have any questions, there are comments right there for that as well. But yeah, when we pick up the next video, we're going to get into parameters and arguments, function parameters, basically. So that's it for this video, and I'll catch you next time.